Alright guys, so today we are going to be taking a look at the clan battle. So as far as what we are fighting against is going to be a green armored Xi Gundam. So this one is actually a little bit tougher than, or not, I shouldn't say tougher, but it limits you to what kind of unit you can use in a way. So naturally speaking, a bombardier unit has a advantage over a armored unit, but in the sense of Xi Gundam, the enemy does have the just a 100% active bullseye, so you always do prone to get hit as far as a bombardier unit. So it's never a really good idea to even use them in a sense, but you can actually deal with that by running like kind of like sort of a tank. So as far as our attempt in this one, this is more like a free-to-play setup. We don't have any limited units, and then we're obviously going over to a more limited setup. So it is still always a good idea to be bringing like your debuffers and whatnot, because you always want the boss to take more damage. So that's why we are bringing in the likes of Mark II, for example. We also do have Borges Alice as well. We can technically bring in Alex Gundam if we wanted to, but I feel like Alex Gundam is not really a appropriate choice because not a lot of people made some for that unit. So I'm just trying to use unit that people may have. So as far as a complete list of like, all right, what other unit you can use, like if we go over to the SRs for debuffers specifically, I will definitely recommend this unit right here. So if I can click on it, the ball boy over here. So this one is allowing your allies to take more or deal more damage. So this one is good, but you do have to consider that you are going to be losing out some good DPS, right? So that's something to consider about. If we do, let's say, just put this unit at custom 10 for example, I do wonder where we're at. So custom, let's just do 11 because I don't really want to use all the SR tech at the moment. So let's see where we at. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of power we're looking at for the weapon, and then that should give me a good idea of like, all right, is it really a good idea to use this or not? So B, huh? Yeah, I think B is. I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be dashing out any good damage overall. So if you are using this unit, just be cautious that you are gonna be losing out some damage. Then that's definitely say that right there. So yeah, even when we do have it up to a level 124, we have a little bit more edge on that. So still not necessarily the greatest. And the other one to recommend is going to be this one over here, the Zach Pod. This one is more like an inverse. This one is a debuff, so your enemy takes more damage. So this one is also another good option. But again, like these units, they're not really meant to deal high damage. So if you are using the Zach Pod and then the Ball Boy, just expect you're losing out on a decent amount of damage. So that's why Mark II and Borgestellas are always going to be at least for now a good staple. But some of the other one, like your damage dealer unit, I don't think there's a lot of SRs to actually use in here, so I'm not even gonna bother looking at that. But for red specifically, we have a few, honestly. If you guys do have a pretty decked out, let's say Delta Plus, for example, it honestly could be pretty viable because with the Transcendent skill, you actually do a little bit more damage on that. But I don't have my Delta Plus at any reasonable level, so I'm not going to be using this unit. The other, like, we have a lot of other stronger options as well. Maybe even I want to say against a armor unit, you don't necessarily want to be using any close combat or raid. They don't really do that good against them. So your better bet is to use anything that's non-HP restriction. So meaning even like your Psychic Zaku, don't use them because there's also going to be, I think it's every 20-second-ish, there's going to be just a wave of AoE damage. You just can't cancel it. So with bombardment unit, they need to maintain the HP threshold. I will not use them. So your best bet is just to use like generic unit like these right here. Just your generic, like I don't know, like GP04 is gonna be a good option. probably New Gundam is also another good option if you have at least a decent investment, and then obviously Delta Plus is gonna be a good option. But yeah, that's more if you don't have any other color, for example. Otherwise, you're probably gonna be using like your typical Zeta. Just gonna be using that. Don't use Sasabi because Sasabi cannot dodge in this phase because the boss has what you call it, bullseye. So you cannot even use this unit. You just get crushed. So not gonna be a good unit to use. You probably can use Kasi as well to counter off against the boss, because you can actually aggro the armor unit, so you can probably use that and still be good. I'll probably be bringing in on my other attempt, gonna be using Phoenix, but I think that's probably set enough. Let's actually hop in with this setup first, and then just to show you guys, I am gonna be using bombardment just to show you guys that we are not really gonna be doing a lot of good damage, just for the showcase purpose of that. All right, so this is kind of like a scuff setup, honestly, and the reason why I'm doing that because like Kasi actually spits out a lot of like, I think it's the missile funnel. So op chance wise, your enemy close or your ally close by actually may get hit, so that's why I opted to go with the setup. So the main thing is having Gundam Thunderbolt just for the tanking purposes, because we do need to pull aggro, so at least for the time being we don't get hit until the AoE wave and whatnot. So for the time being, when we take a look at the likes of Double Zeta, for example, we are still able to maintain decent damage in a sense. Oh, we got hit already, so that's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, I wouldn't say there's like a a way that the enemy is just hitting in a way. For me, when I'm not using the tank per se, like Eskinem is the one that's always taking damage first, like regardless. I'm like, why? Like I even had HP module on it at one time, and it just loves taking damage. So yeah, this is an example of why you shouldn't be using your S Gundam or your Double Zeta, because they're just going to be taking damage. So anything that's going to be HP restrictive, I wouldn't suggest you guys to be running, because you are not going to be doing any good damage at all. So what did we do? Oh wow, 2,700 only. Wow, that's kind of unfortunate. But the best unit that we have on deck is definitely the Hama Hama. So yeah, that unit is good. So if you guys do have reasonable investment, yeah, that unit is going to be cooking. So I think I am going to come back around. I'm going to change up a little bit more on the standard aspect first. Probably going to be tossing in maybe GP04, and then we will see what kind of difference we'll have. Alright, so this we did just a little bit of a replacement. So we add in GP04 because GP04 actually has some debuff in it as well, and we brought in Alex, and then that's pretty much it. So Alex probably would be a better candidate, obviously, because what is it, Mark 2 doing type disadvantage to be in melee is probably not going to be your best bet. So I will assume this one probably may be better. Guess I'll just place it like this, and then I'll just have Double Zeta all the way in the back. So let's just kind of see. So for Hama Hama now, I did actually use this designated pilot because I do need to free up Greedy for GP04, because I don't really have a lot of good pilots, so that's why we went for that. But you guys can see GP04 even without any higher investment, dude, this is amazing. Like GP04 single-handedly is carrying this, like not even gonna lie. So if you guys are willing to put in some investment into GP04, I think it's actually a pretty good idea. Like this is, keep in mind, this is more like a standard build in a way, and we are able to deal relatively good damage. So the other run, you guys saw Hama Hama doing that good of a damage, because instead of using the designated pilot, I was using a Reedy. So that's why we did a lot of damage. So it honestly depends on what kind of setup you guys are using, and all of them works. So 4,500. So with those two changes, we did a lot better. So definitely cannot use S Gundam. Don't use that, and just don't use any bombardment or any unit in general that takes damage, because any unit that has HP restriction is not gonna go well. So yeah, this is actually pretty good. That's crazy right there. So I'm gonna do one final attempt. The other one is going to be me using some limited unit, and then we will see how it goes. Alright, so for the limited run, this is just going to be one run that I'm doing. So this time around for the tank, we are just bringing in Kassid because this unit should be pretty decent because we are on taking damage, we are healing. So supposedly we should be able to tank a little bit better than what 4 American Thunderbolt can do. And this time around, I think I'm actually just gonna be tossing in some, DPS module in there as well, so we can at least dash out, a fair bit of damage in itself. And we obviously do have the good old Zeta, just gonna be, for the time being, it's still gonna be pretty relevant. And then just gonna be tossing in perfectibility, and then for some buffing purposes, we are going to be bringing Kshatriya. Debuff, we have Phoenix, and then we just have a little bit of a mini debuff from a GP04. So let's actually hop in now. Alright, so this is going to be the setup that we are running. Like, honestly, this team don't really matter where you place them, or I guess, it still does for the purpose of getting the better stats, but this team isn't going to be taking any damage, or taking damage won't even matter, so we should be fine. So yeah, Kassid, definitely doing pretty good for a tank, for this instance specifically. So if you guys do already have Kassid, and then you guys are like wondering, like, do I want to go for Penelope? I mean, like, the answer is probably you wouldn't want to, reinvest another sort of like unit enhancement points, your rainbow points or whatnot, because you're roughly doing about the same thing anyway. So I mean, like, I would definitely probably save up your time. You were specifically trying to summon for that unit so you can do good in this clan battle, then don't bother, because like Kassid is already covering you, so you don't really need to go for another one. And I will not really expect Penelope to outright do massively more damage, and it's just more or less focusing on the core unit already that you guys already have. Like, those are going to be what's carrying you in this clan battle. But if you are specifically trying to go for like a better tank, I don't know how much better it would be. I'll definitely need to test it up. But for the purpose of clan battle, I would not suggest you guys to go for Penelope for that. So what do we do here? So Zeta is obviously pretty good, and Kassid actually died towards the very end. That's kind of unfortunate, but it did it can for just the tanking purposes, so or other fellas wouldn't have to take that much damage. So GP04, even like GP04 is, I believe, at C10, and without any transcendent skill or whatnot, and is still performing relatively good in this particular setup. So I am definitely blown away how good this unit is. And Kshatriya contributing, pretty decently. And, specifically, I needed Kshatriya for the buffing, and it did just that. So I'm definitely glad about that. And then we have Phoenix, so just contributing on the EXQ debuffing. So we got that. But overall, this is definitely pretty decent for the time being. I think probably later down the road, I'll probably be testing it out with Penelope as well, because obviously I will be TFIing it just to see what we are looking at. But other than that, for the initial one, it doesn't look that bad for this limited setup. But do definitely let me know what you guys setup are looking like, so you guys can kind of share down below. And then with that said, I'll be catching you guys all on the next one.